All right, everybody. Jillian and I are going to go through all of the answers on your assignment for page 210 and 213, 14, and 15. And this is the review video. And of course, I have to show you, we're in this book. So those of you who never know what book you're in, there you go. So I already in the introduction video covered all of the material that was on page 210, and I don't feel the need to redo that now because there are no questions to answer on that. We're going to jump directly to 213, and we're going to do all of these together so that you know that you got the right answers. And then, if you will, please correct every single line, and then you're going to upload a photo of the corrected pages so that you get credit for having corrected it. Okay? All righty, guys. So here we go. Question number 2. The exercise instructions say, in the blank before each sentence, write the use of the italicized pronouns. Write S for subject, PN for predicate nominative, and AP for S if it's in a positive of a subject. All right, number 2. The most interesting person to invite as speaker would be she. All right, she is italicized. All right, and so let's see. We're trying to determine how it's being used. Your only options are subject, predicate, nominative, or a positive of subject. So that helps here because some people, when they see the word be, even though that's a being verb, they think preposition because it's a short word, but that's not what it is. So let's look at subject and verb here. Let's see. So she, okay, so this is all the subject. Would be is the verb. She is the predicate nominative. You guys see that? So this one should be predicate nominative. Okay. So the most interesting person to invite, I mean, truthfully, I guess, once you establish that, really, this isn't a clause. This is the subject, person. The most interesting are all adjectives describing person. And then to invite is a prepositional phrase describing which person. As a speaker is a, to invite. No, this is actually an infinitive phrase, isn't it? To invite, because that's a verb form. Put a to in front of it. You've got to invite is the infinitive. To invite as a speaker is an infinitive phrase. All of that is an adjective describing person. That was kind of a tough one for number 2. Let's look at the next one. Who was it that asked for more copies of the senator's report? Well, who, because it's a question mark there, that means who is an interrogative pronoun, right? But let's see, subject, verb, that asked who. Okay, we've got this, a question mark means you've got to flip it around like Yoda. Remember how that goes? So that is the subject, ask is the action verb, or is the, no, that's all wrong. That's all wrong. Actually, it is a question, and it does have to be flipped around, but it's much simpler than that. It was who? That makes more sense, doesn't it? Remember, the word that introduces a clause, so all of that is a clause meant to make us go crazy. So it was who? So this is predicate nominative as well. Okay. Next, the teacher's aides for the 6th grade will be Sarah, Olivia, and she. Now this one's easy because we've just got subject is aides, will be is the verb, that's a linking verb, and the noun that follows a linking verb and renames it is a predicate nominative. So that's a predicate nominative as well. All right, and then Ruth's brothers, Ed and he, are going to do all the landscaping. Well, brothers is the subject. Are, let's see, yeah, They are and go. So are is the verb. Going to do all of the landscaping is the predicate nominative. We're worried about this one. He is renaming brothers. He, they're both positives of a subject. So we want to put AP of S. So Ruth's brothers. Which brothers are we talking about? Let's make positively sure we know. Well, it's Ed and he. Okay, well, that is the appositive of the subject. On Friday, Mrs. Bloom and they will set out the pansy plants. Okay, so Mrs. Bloom is one of the subjects. They is the other subject. Will set is the verb. So this is just simply a subject. Our volunteers, Sarah, Abigail, and she. It's set apart by parentheses. Remember that that's a parenthetical. Parentheses can be used for appositives. Okay, so this is also an appositive of a subject because volunteers is the subject, and then we're going to make absolutely sure we know who the volunteers are. Well, those volunteers are Sarah, Abigail, and she. Okay, so that's an AP of S. We daughters will gladly help plan the golden wedding anniversary. Okay, now this one, let me see. I believe that the answer is it's a positive of subject. Actually, no, it's not. It's a subject because we is describing which daughters. That's just subject. Okay. Let's see. No, it is a subject. Daughters is in a positive. We is the subject. We, well, who's we? The daughters. Makes sense? Okay. Anyway, it's subject. Whoever did all this work should be thanked. Well, whoever should be thanked. That's just really, that's a simple subject. And then our yearbook representatives will be Victoria and he. So representatives is the subject. Will be is the linking verb. Victoria and he are both predicate nominatives. Okay, hopefully that one wasn't too difficult. Let's move on to the next page. Very similar. In the blank before each sentence, write the use of the italicized pronouns, and our options are direct object, indirect object, object of preposition, a positive of direct object, a positive of object of preposition. Okay, well, let's look at the first one. Professor Collins gave Taylor and her an opportunity to audit the course. All right, well, Professor Collins is the subject. All right, what gave is the action verb. So that's an action verb. Now, Professor Collins gave something. What did Professor Collins give? He or she gave the opportunity. So that's the direct object. Who received the opportunity would be Taylor and her. So those are both indirect objects. Okay? The definition of an indirect object is it is a noun or pronoun that follows the action verb and receives the direct object. Okay, so the direct object is the noun or pronoun that follows the action verb and receives the action. That's the two differences. So whoever's getting the direct object is the indirect object. The commander accepted 3 volunteers, Jack, Luke, and him, for the mission. Okay, well, we know because of those dashes that this parenthetical that that's in a positive of something. We just got to figure out what it's in a positive of. Well, it's in a positive of volunteers, so now we got to determine what volunteers are. The commander is the subject, accepted is the verb, that's the action verb, volunteers is the direct object. So this is in a positive of a direct object. Okay? All right, Jillian, you're my check. It's not if it's okay. You're still doing good? Okay. Number 4, the office sent notices to several students, Caroline, Julie, Rick, and him. Okay, well, we've got the same sort of thing. This is, remember, the following has a colon, but it's still in a positive. So this is in a positive of something as well. Caroline, Julie, Rick, and him are other names for students. So we need to find out what students is. The office is the subject, sent is the verb, notices is the direct object because that's what the office sent. To several students is a prepositional phrase. So this would be an appositive of an object of preposition, the longest one. So it's AP of OP. Okay? Next, God took two men, Enoch and him, alive into heaven. That's in a positive as well. Enoch and him are the two men, aren't they? So we got to find out what men is. God is the subject, took is an action verb, men is the direct object. So this is AP of the O. Okay. Number 6, several disciples saw Moses, Elijah, and him at the Transfiguration. Okay, well, at the Transfiguration is a prepositional phrase, so that's not going to come into play. Disciples is the subject, saw is the verb, and what did the disciples see? Well, they saw these three people. So that would be, saw is an action verb, that has to be just a regular direct object. Okay. Next, the Andersons had prepared a delicious meal for Seth and me. Well, I don't have to look at any of that stuff because I can tell by looking. For is a preposition, isn't it? So for Seth and me is a prepositional phrase. So that must be an object of preposition. There's two of them, but we can have more than one object of preposition. Seth is one of them, me is the other. Mr. Medford gave Billy and them an extra day's wages. All right, here we go again. Let's look at it. Mr. Medford is the subject. Gave is the action verb. What did he give? He gave wages. That's the direct object. Who received the wages? That would be Billy and them. So those are both indirect objects. So that's an indirect object. Our Republican congressman sent us campaign workers a letter of appreciation. Okay. Congressman is the subject. Sent is the action verb. What was sent? The letter. That's the direct object. Who received the letter? Us. So that's an indirect object again. And then the last one on this page, grandfather mailed a $10 contribution to the fundraisers, Jeff and her. So Jeff and her must have been raising funds for grandfather or for somebody, and grandfather's pitching in. Grandfather's the subject. Mailed is the action verb. Contribution is the direct object. To the fundraisers is a prepositional phrase, right? And fundraisers the object of the preposition. And who are the fundraisers? Jeff and her. So this is an appositive of an object of preposition. Okay. Jillian, is that good? We got that far? Okay. Last page. Okay, we're supposed to circle the possessive pronouns that function as adjectives and underline the ones as functioning as pronouns. And we have our little guide up here from the introduction. So if it's got the dash next to it, then those guys, actually, you know what? Well, yeah, I've already done that for everybody, so I got to keep it with this. So the little dash next to them means that they're adjectives. If they're underlined here, that means that they're pronouns. And then if they're circled, they can be either one. And we have to go down to the C list to determine it. All right. Well, let's look at the pronouns in number 2. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. All right. So we've got his, and we've got his. His soul is describing soul. So that one's an adjective. And it says, circle the adjectives, underline the pronouns. His tongue, that's describing tongue. So that's an adjective. His mouth, they're all 3 adjectives. And on this one, there are none that function as pronouns. And we can confirm that by looking up here. His can be either. So we know we're in the ballpark there. Like as the waves make towards the pebbled shore, I don't see any pronouns there. So do our, that's one, minutes, hasten to their in both of those. Our is describing minutes. Whose minutes? Circle that one, that's an adjective. There is describing in. Whose end? Okay. Remember the adjectives answer the questions. Which one? What kind? How many? How much? And whose? W-H-O-S-E. And these both are answering the question whose. Number 4. Rachel spent more time on her speech. Well, her is describing which speech, isn't it? That's an adjective. Than I did on mine. Mine is not. In fact, if you look up here, mine is always a pronoun. Mine is never an adjective. So we're going to underline that based on the instructions that underline the possessive pronouns that function as pronouns. Okay. Next, hers won first place and mine came in third. Well, this is exactly the same one. Hers and mine are functioning just like this. Mine can never be an adjective and hers can never be an adjective. They're just pronouns. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. Interesting. That's a lot of different things there. Well, I am a good shepherd, okay? That is not anything because it's not possessive. Remember, this is just possessive pronouns. So I is not anything. My sheep, though, is an adjective. Whose sheep? My sheep. And then mine is a pronoun because it is in our list of ones that are always pronouns. But also, what word would it be modifying, you know? I mean, there's nothing else there for it to describe. So it just can't be an adjective. It has to be a pronoun. Kelly herself did hers, but her friends had help with their displays. That's a confusing sentence to even say. Their displays, we know that one's an adjective because it's saying whose displays. Her friends, we know is an adjective because it's saying whose friends. But then we've got this other one, hers here. That one's a pronoun because hers has to be. See that? It tells us those are always. And I'm pointing to that, but look right there. See that? The forms mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, and theirs function as pronouns. We just know they're pronouns because it says so. That copy of the program is not yours. It's hers and mine. Okay, so that is an adjective describing which copy. That copy. Oh, wait, no, it's not either because it's not possessive. I'm so sorry. It is an adjective, but it's not a possessive pronoun. That's just a pronoun. My bad. But yours, now that is a possessive pronoun functioning as a pronoun. There's no word for it to modify. And then hers and mine are also functioning as possessive pronouns. Okay? Next, theirs was the most interesting presentation in our assembly today. Theirs is the subject of the sentence, right? An adjective can't be a subject, can it? So since an adjective can't be a subject, we know it has to be performing the function of a noun, and pronouns do that, don't they? So this is a pronoun, theirs, and then our is describing which assembly. So that's an adjective, our assembly. Okay? That decision is his to make, but I hope he asks for your advice. Okay, his is possessive. Skip that because it's not a possessive pronoun. But his is, and his is the predicate nominative here. See, decision is the subject, is the linking verb, his is predicate nominative. Predicate nominatives have to be nouns, so this one is a pronoun. But I hope he asks for your advice. Whose advice? Yours. That's an adjective. Okay? Next, their files, that's an adjective because there is possessive describing whose files. Their files are here. But what happened to ours? Well, ours, in this case, is a predicate nominative. It doesn't have an adjective or doesn't have a noun to modify. It is functioning as an object of preposition there, I guess. It is, isn't it? Yes, I think it is. It definitely is because it's not a verb form. And then finally, his jacket has lost its new look, but it surely looks comfortable. His jacket is an adjective describing whose jacket. Its new look, its is an adjective describing look. And that's all. Okay. Exercise B. Now we are going to put a little underline under this B on your page so that I know that you got all the way down here. I think we colored in the B last time, but let's just underline that B, okay? I wrote 3 sentences. I'll give you some examples, but we got to represent the rule. So number 1, I said the cat licked its fur. It says the form my, yours, his, her, its. Oops, sorry. My, your, his, her, its, our, and their are used before nouns and function as adjective. The meeting died. I sure hope I kept that. Here we go. Number 2. Ours is the best plan. All right. So we needed to use one of these. Oh, I guess I got to share the screen again. In the second rule, mine, yours, his, her, its, ours, and theirs function as pronouns. Okay. So I've got to use ours or one of those. I choose ours and make sure it's functioning as a pronoun. It is definitely a pronoun because it's the subject of the sentence. Ours is plan. And then the last one is we have to use either his or its because that's what this rule is. His and its may function as adjectives or pronouns. I have to choose one of those two and make a sentence with it and use it correctly. I actually am going to use it both ways. His dog is large. This his is an adjective. But Blake's dog is even bigger or larger than his. That's a pronoun. There's nothing for it to describe. It's just standing in for a noun. But this one is describing whose dog. So there we go. All right. That is all of them. Let me stop the share. Go ahead and do upload those to the LMS assignment. And don't forget the little trick to tell me that you got to the end of it. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Julian, for monitoring me and making sure I did it right. And you guys, love you all. I'll see you next time.